what happens to the Kenyan graduate when the machine can do it cheaper or even better than him or her? So, okay, you did everything they told you, right? Okay, 4 years, fees, your parents are still paying off till date. You have a graduation photo where everyone's smiling because the hard part is supposedly over. You have a CV with a degree on it, sitting ready, aimed at a job market that was already full before you even enrolled completely. And now that and now there's a new competitor for that job. We all know it doesn't need a salary, it doesn't need a sick leave, it doesn't even need to be trained for 6 months before it's useful. It doesn't sleep, it doesn't ionize, does not ask for a raise. It just needs electricity and an internet connection. And it can do the entry level version of your job tonight for less than your monthly transport allowances. Nobody put that on the prospectus completely. Here's the part that makes this personal instead of an abstract really. The jobs that most which are most at risk right now aren't some far of future category, really. They are the exact jobs Kenyan graduates have been funneled towards for the last decade. There's the customer service and call centers, you know, the industry that absorbed thousands of graduates precisely because it didn't require deep specialization, and it's not being quietly rebuilt around AI agents. Now it's quietly being rebuilt around AI agents that can handle the same calls at a fraction of the cost. Data entry, basic accounting, junior content writing, first draft graphic design, entry-level customer support scripts, all of it sitting squarely in the category of structured, repeatable, low judgment work, which happens to be exactly what large language models are built to eat first, right? The tragedy isn't that AI is coming for glomerulous, high status jobs, really. Is that it's coming fastest for the exact starter jobs graduates were told to expect while they climb towards something bigger, the corporate ladder. The bottom rung of the ladder is the rung getting swayed off fast. Now, if they do this, how will we get on the top? I think eventually when we get there, there will not be jobs anyway. Or what do you think? But there's something these AI companies they don't advertise, and here it is, okay. And Kenya has become one of the world's hubs for the invisible labor that trains these systems, guys. Workers reviewing and labeling data, sometimes even graphics and disturbing content for major AI companies, okay, for a payment that barely registers against the profits those systems eventually generate globally. Um, that work has already made international headlines, okay, and sparkled legal disputes over pay and working conditions completely. But sit with the shape of that for a second. Kenyan graduates and young workers are right now doing some of the most psychological taxing labor in the entire AI supply chain. The labeling, the moderation, the human correction that makes these models usable for wages a fraction of what the same work commands elsewhere. And the tools built on top of that labor are the same tools now competing with the sum of those workers for the next job up the ladder. And that's not a coincidence, guys. That's just the actual architecture. The global south doesn't just risk losing jobs to AI. In many cases, it's quietly building the very AI that will replace it and getting paid the less for the least of anyone in that chain for the privilege. But the whole promise was always simple, guys. Get the degree, and the degree protects you. Turns out that promise was already breaking before even AI showed up. Because I'm not totally trying to blame on AI about not having jobs in the Kenyan markets. Really, I'm not blaming AI. But Kenya's graduate unemployment Kenya's graduates' unemployment problem was a national conversation, right? Years before anyone was talking about ChatGPT, right? Uh, and AI didn't create the gap between graduates and jobs. Okay, it just made the gap impossible to ignore. It just made the more noise more louder, guys. We're hearing these things. Here's the uncomfortable part. A degree certifies that you sat through curriculum, right? It was never a guarantee that the curriculum taught you something a machine could eventually do faster. It's like doing math, right? If I'm doing math and I'm better than at math than you, or at accounting than you, or at coding than you, bro, I'll get the job. You won't get the job. But at some extent, we know connections matter. But most of what gets tested in university, which is memorization, structured writing, following a known process to a known answer, is precisely the category of tasks these systems are best at, bro. They know how to follow architecture. The system optimized you for an exam performance, right? In a world that increasingly pays for something else entirely. It pays for judgment, it pays for test, initiative, and the ability to ask the question nobody thought to ask yet. And nobody told you that when you enrolled, because nobody fully knew it yet either. But it's true now. And pretending otherwise doesn't buy you any more time, guys. It's true, bro. These things are here to stay, and they're here to stay for life, man. But out of all of these things, there's a benefactor, and there's the loser. I mean, if you want to know who benefits out of all of this, I think you need to follow where the money goes. And I think the picture gets clearer like that. I mean, the companies building and deploying these systems are overwhelmingly based somewhere else, like in Silicon Valley mostly. You've seen that, right? Every tech innovation is taken to Silicon Valley, right? The efficiency gain, the cost savings from replacing entry-level labor, flow update to shareholders and executives in economies that already had the head start. They all belong in Silicon Valley. And locally, the beneficiaries tend to be the businesses and the employers who get to run leaner, fewer junior hires, fewer training budgets, higher margins, while the graduates who would have filled those roles are left competing for an even smaller pool of jobs that do require the judgment of a machine doesn't have yet. Okay. And bro, as for me, I'm a graduate, and I'd say I saw a post somewhere on X. It was processed by Anthropic, the company which created cloud, right? The owner said that that was 3 months ago. He said he had a tech startup for biotech companies to initiate drug discovery, gene mapping techniques, things about biotechnology, new ways of life. And it's a startup idea of his. And bro, what am I gonna do when this thing comes? But I don't know, but I think I'm gonna figure it out. And at the same time, the same pattern that shows up everywhere else on this channel. Okay, a shift gets sold as a pure progress, and it is progress, right? For whoever already owned the tools before that shift happened, though. The question was never whether AI would create value. It obviously will, bro. At a massive scale, by the way, it will. The question is who gets to capture that value. And right now, the honest answer is mostly not the 23-year-old in Nairobi who just finished paying off their student loans, bro. Or the ones who are trying to find job in the job markets or trying to apply for jobs. And one thing I've come to realize is that most of us Kenyans, 85% of us make money off the system that we've gone through. Gikomba, selling small cheese, small cars or whatever. All these things, going to Gikomba, Toi, selling tomatoes, selling watermelons, matatu drivers. And the other 15% are the least who are actually making money on the system. But here's the part which doesn't feel hopeless, guys, okay? There's a difference between being replaced by AI and being out competed by someone who knows how to use it. Because for me, literally right now, I've been I have 2 months right now before my next academic year. I'm trying to understand these things. Okay, I'm literally trying to get locked in, trying to understand how these systems work. And for a graduate who treats these tools, for a graduate who treats these tools, damn man, as a threat to avoid is as a threat is avoiding, is choosing to compete. What am I even saying? The graduate who treats these tools as a threat to avoid is choosing to compete on the machine stuff. And we know the machine stuff is either speed, repeatability, structured output. It never tired, never gets tired. And you will lose that fight every time. But for the graduate who treats these same tools as a leverage, who learns to direct them, question them, combine them with actual local knowledge and judgment the model doesn't have, becomes something closer to the person operating the machine instead of the person the machine replaced. Because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to understand these machines and trying to get them to work depending on my context. Because literally, I saw the other day, I saw this post on NTV that somebody posted, said that they created large language models that speak in our local languages. I mean, that's a good thing, you know. But also, that's not a guaranteed. That's not even a guarantee, even also, okay? Because it's not going to save everyone, and pretending individual adaptation solves a structural problem, which will be its own kind of a lie, which will be a kind of a lie, right? The scale of the shift is bigger than any one person's skill set. But at the individual level, right now, today, there's a real gap between graduates who are learning to work with these systems and graduates who are hoping these systems go away. Bro, they will never go. Only one of those groups is going to still be employed in 5 years, bro. And it's who knows how to use these things. And what does this really mean for you and me specifically? I'd say that for us graduates or those on campus, we should stop treating our degrees as a finished product. It was an entry ticket to a room that's rearranging itself while you are standing in it. The actual asset now is whatever you can do that a language model generally can't, which is reading a room, understanding context nobody wrote down, building relationships, making a judgment call with incomplete information, knowing this specific country, this specific culture, this specific market, in a way no model trained mostly on someone else's internet ever will. That's not comforting in a way, okay, of a stable career path used to be comforting. But it's honest, guys. It's honest. And on this channel, honest beats comforting every time. And I'll say this at the end, the machines can do the job cheaper. It can it can still it still can't be from here though. Thanks for watching.